The other day, my closest buddy asked if I would stand by his side at his wedding. I hesitated for a moment since I'm not a fan of those traditional shenanigans, like bride ransoms and silly games. But he assured me that all I needed to do was make sure he didn't overindulge at the reception to avoid any embarrassing moments with his soon-to-be wife's family. I finally agreed, and as a thank you, I ended up pairing with an absolutely enchanting fellow witness named Lila. We spent the whole night at the same table exchanging delightful banter, and later, we took a spin on the dance floor. Before the night ended, I snagged Lila's number, which led to movie nights, dates, a heartfelt proposal, and a trip down the aisle. This was followed by visits to the maternity ward not once but twice. Fast forward over 15 years, and here we are, with two boys who aren't so little anymore. All these years, we've truly been two peas in a pod. If someone had asked me about my vision of the perfect relationship, I would have cited the bond between my wife and me as an example. This belief turned out to be my biggest misjudgment. I was immersed in the building trade, while Lila dedicated herself to a career in HR. Her passion for her work was evident as she devoted countless hours to learning and improving. She crafted various activities for her company's workforce and held occasional workshops. My admiration for Lila knew no bounds, as she truly inspired her colleagues to approach their jobs with enthusiasm. In recent times, Lila had developed her own training module aimed at boosting work efficiency through enhanced team dynamics. Her expertise had gathered attention, leading to invitations from several other cities to host sessions. My sons and I were always supportive, encouraging her to undertake these important journeys. Admittedly, our encounters became rare, but it felt wrong to chastise Lila for the scant attention she could spare for us, considering the exhaustive nature of her work. Ironically, her next business trip coincided with her birthday. It wasn't her habit to let professional commitments slide, so she chose to delay her personal celebrations. This is how the scene in my memory unfolds. The suitcase perched by the doorway, Lila meticulously adjusting the metal fingers of her watch, her passport and ticket securely tucked away in her purse alongside her phone and charger. With a quick turn, she glanced back at us. "All right, don't miss me too much. I'll be back before you know it," she said, and with that, she shut the door with a definitive thud. The kids and I hurriedly began packing. A couple of days before, we'd hatched a plan to throw a surprise birthday bash for her and catch her completely off guard. The morning after Lila's departure dawned brightly, and we woke up, dialing her number to wish her a happy birthday, mastering our poker faces over the phone. Then, we zipped off to the airport. After a taxing few hours in the air, we landed in the quaint town where she was celebrating. Stepping into the crisp air, we flagged down a cab and directed the driver to take us to the hotel where my beloved was staying. However, the taxi driver looked at us angrily. "There's no hotel with that name in this city," he said. I snapped back. "Well, there must be. My wife is staying there. She told me about it herself." The driver replied, "I've been driving a taxi in this city for 17 years, and I've never heard of such a place. Do you have an exact address? If not, then you're out of luck." Frustrated, we got out of the car and headed to the airport. Even there, no one had the slightest idea where this hotel was. I was furious. Why doesn't anyone know about this hotel? I raged. My wife arrived just yesterday and checked into this hotel. They replied, "Listen, man, there's no way your wife boarded a flight yesterday because planes depart from your city only every third day. Did you check the timetable when buying tickets? Or could it be she flew out from another city?" the ticket agent asked. "No," I countered, "not from any other city. There must be some mix-up." He then explained that the return flight would be when the plane I took lands in about an hour, and the next available one wasn't until 3 days later. Feeling defeated, I turned to my kids, disappointed. Guess the surprise isn't happening. I need to call Grandma. There I was, standing in an unfamiliar airport with my 2 children, attempting to get in touch with my wife, but she wouldn't pick up the phone. Moments later, I received a text from her. "Busy, really? I knew where she was busy, but why? I was on the brink of losing my marbles, but I managed to keep my cool. It seemed we were in a quandary. We needed to pick up tickets as soon as possible, or we'd be stuck here for 3 days. We went to buy tickets, and the return trip was passed in silence. The kids were old enough to realize something suspicious was going on, but I didn't dare jump to conclusions. I clung to the hope that there was a rational explanation for all this. By the time we got home, it was quite late. "All right," I declared, "let's eat and hit the sack. Not a peep to Mom about this botched trip. Let's keep it under wraps." The boys trudged off to bed, but sleep eluded me. Suddenly, my phone rang. It was Lila. "Hey there. I couldn't ring you earlier. Are you already in bed?" "Yeah. The kids are out like a light, but I'm still up," I replied. "Listen, can you remind me where you're at in the city?" I asked. "Like I told you," she replied. "I was thinking of sending you some flowers, but I couldn't recall the address." I fibbed, hoping to mask the turmoil brewing inside me. I gave them the name of the hotel, but they said they had no idea and couldn't find the address. "Oh, come on. What flowers?" I asked, trying to keep my composure. "My return flight is tomorrow evening." "Where should I keep the bouquet?" she asked. "Don't worry. I'll come by and personally wish you all the best." "Well, I'm going to bed now. Good night." "Yes, let's wait for you." "Good night." When I hung up, I was shaking all over. At least I should have checked the flight schedule. Keeping a straight face was becoming more difficult. I couldn't stand the obvious fabrications. My wife returned the next evening, and we wished her a happy birthday and had a family dinner. Lila acted as if nothing unusual had happened. I asked her some leading questions about her recent trip, and she answered each one, lying without the slightest embarrassment. It was the moment when I reached my limit. "Of course I've had enough, Lila. The truth has come out. The guys and I planned a surprise for you. We arrived in the city only yesterday. Turns out those flights and hotels you mentioned don't exist. Moreover, I remembered a few details. There were too many contradictions in your stories about past work trips. Come on, tell me the truth already," I said. Lowering her eyes, Lila began to mumble apologies. "Please forgive me. You are the best father for our children, the most devoted husband you could ever dream of. That's all I have. I never intended to hurt you. I never imagined you would find out the truth. I never meant to hurt you. I've been with this fellow for 2 years. It was nothing serious. That's the end of it. I almost walked out on him, but he threatened to expose everything to you. Please forgive me." "Leave," I demanded. "But where do you think I'm going in the middle of the night?" "What about the children?" she argued. "They should have been considered before," I said. "Head back to your lover, though. Remember, he has his own family. I can't. I have responsibilities, too," she replied. "I don't care," I insisted. "Leave." And so she did. The kids chose to stay with me. They felt deeply wronged by their mother's actions, seeing it as a betrayal not just to me, but to our entire family. I acknowledge that kids need their mom, but I can't compel them to see her. I trust that time will eventually sort this mess. But for now, things remain painfully complex.